This isn't just another celebrity story. This is a war. A silent war fought in mansions, private jets, and Instagram captions. Regina Daniels isn't just living a fairy tale anymore. She's rewriting it. And this time, Ned Nwoko isn't smiling. What began as love has now turned into headlines of violence, addiction, and quiet rebellion. This is not about fame anymore. This is a silent war. It all started like a scene from a badly written movie, a short, shaky video of a woman everyone thought had it all. The luxurious homes, the private jets, the designer outfits, everything about Regina Daniels screamed peace, wealth, and happiness. For years, she had made polygamy look glamorous. Her marriage to billionaire Ned Nwoko was a picture-perfect definition of what soft life should look like. But then came that video, a tearful Regina speaking in fragments, her voice trembling as she said, "I can't take this anymore. The violence is too much." At first, people refused to believe it. Some thought it was a prank. Others said it was a movie scene or a social media stunt. But when her brother stepped forward to confirm the story and her sister followed, echoing the same, the illusion shattered. The fairy tale everyone admired suddenly began to look like a nightmare playing out in real time. And that was when the internet went wild. Some people empathized deeply, sending prayers and encouragements. Others gossiped, dissecting every clip and every post from her past, asking how a woman who flaunted luxury could now be crying out for help. A few even mocked her, saying she was simply reaping what she sowed, that this was the price of marrying into wealth. The reactions were chaotic, sympathy, mockery, curiosity, all happening at once. The same internet that once adored her now became a courtroom of public opinion. After the chaos, Regina suddenly disappeared from the public eye. Her social media pages were quiet. No posts, no statements, no reaction, just silence. But it didn't last long. Within a short while, her name began trending again. Not because she had spoken, but because the silence itself became a story. Everyone was waiting, all wondering what would come next. Barely 24 hours after Regina Daniels' emotional video went viral, her husband, Ned Nwoko, broke his silence, but his words took the story in a completely different direction. In a lengthy statement released to the public, Ned Nwoko painted a dark, disturbing picture, one that shifted the spotlight away from him and onto Regina. According to him, Regina's struggles were not with him, but with addiction. He wrote, "Regina was not always like this. Her current battle with drugs and alcohol abuse is the root of our problem." He claimed she had become violent, accusing her of assaulting 3 staff members, damaging cars and windows, and even threatening their resident nurse. He insisted the only way forward was for her to accept rehabilitation, either in Abuja's Asokoro district or in Jordan, where she would, in his words, not have access to drugs. For many, this was a shocking twist. The man once accused of domestic violence had turned the entire narrative on its head. He wasn't the abuser, he was the husband of a woman who needed help. He even went as far as naming her alleged drug suppliers, including her brother Sammy and another woman he described as the tiny evil devil called Anne. But the public wasn't convinced. While some believed his statement, others saw it as a calculated move, a strategic attempt to discredit her, to shift attention away from the accusations of abuse and towards her supposed instability. Many questioned his timing. Why now? Why after she had already cried out for help? As the internet digested his claims, the story spiraled further. Screenshots, voice notes, and old interviews began to resurface, each one deepening the divide between those who believed Ned and those who stood by Regina. And yet, through all the noise, one thing became clear. This was no longer just a marital dispute. It had become a public war, one fought not with fists or in court, but with statements, posts, and carefully crafted narratives. And just when people thought it couldn't get messier, reports surfaced that seemed to support some of Ned's claims. According to sources close to the family, Regina had recently undergone a full blood work and toxicology test, and the results, which were allegedly in Ned's possession, showed traces of controlled substances in her system. There were even whispers that videos existed to back up those claims, clips that, if ever released, could destroy what was left of her carefully polished image. Then came another twist, one that took the story from shocking to downright chaotic. Jaruma, the popular aphrodisiac seller and former close friend of Regina Daniels, resurfaced in an interview with blogger Stella Dimoko-Kokus. In that interview, Jaruma didn't just back Ned's claims, she went further. She alleged that Regina had always struggled with substance use, long before her marriage, and that contrary to Ned's supposed discovery, he knew what he was walking into. According to Jaruma, Regina introduced me to drugs. For the first time, it seemed like the tides were turning. Ned's version of events suddenly had support, from test results to public statements to people who claimed to know the actress personally. But the question remained, how much of this was true, and how much was a carefully crafted public defense? Was this about protecting his image, or was it about genuinely saving his wife? Because in the court of public opinion, facts don't always matter, narratives do. And right now, it seemed Ned Nwoko was winning that narrative war. But while Ned's version of the story gained traction online, the world waited for Regina's response. Day after day passed, and still silence. No statement, no interview, just absence. And in that silence, the court of public opinion went to work. Some sympathized with her, others mocked her, and many, almost 90% of the online crowd, believed she was going to go back. After all, they said, how could she possibly walk away from the kind of life she had built? The private jets, the mansions, the wealth, the comfort. Things that had become part of her daily existence. For many, the probability of Regina leaving for good seemed impossible. She had children to think about, a public image to protect, and a lifestyle she couldn't maintain on her own. So when her first social media post surfaced, the internet went into a frenzy. In the photos and videos, Regina was seen aboard a private jet, flying from Abuja to Lagos, and sitting beside her was her brother Sammy. Instantly, blogs picked it up. Comment sections exploded. Many concluded she had already gone back to Ned Nwoko, claiming the jet belonged to him. But that assumption didn't last long. In a surprising twist, Regina's younger sister came forward with a bold clarification that the jet was rented, not owned, and that it was Regina herself who paid $10,000 for the flight. In defense of her sister, she shared never-before-seen photos of Regina's bruises, the marks she bore from her alleged domestic ordeal. "Do you think we can just forget this and go back?" she asked publicly. Then came the post that no one expected. Regina revealed that she had bought herself a multi-million naira home in Lagos, and she did it using a phrase that echoed from her viral outburst. "In Ned Nwoko's house, I am nothing. In my house, I am a queen. So I need a roof over my head, and then I went ahead and got myself a house." It wasn't just a post, it was a statement, a declaration of independence, a woman rewriting the script that society had already written for her. But beneath that bold move lay a much bigger question. Was this true freedom, or the beginning of a new kind of war? In every public scandal, there comes a point where silence begins to speak louder than words. For Regina, this was that moment. After all the noise, the accusations, the statements, the sympathy, and ridicule, she did not release a single official word. No press interview, no denial, not even a subtle rebuttal. Instead, her actions became her response. A house, a private jet, a carefully curated image of calm, power, and control. And yet, this silence doesn't translate to peace. It was, in every sense of the word, defiance. This was not a woman trying to explain herself. This was a woman declaring a private war. Psychologically, what we're witnessing here is rebellion in its most strategic form. Quiet, controlled, but deliberate. Regina's every move now feels like a counterstroke to the narrative Ned had built. He had painted her as an unstable woman, consumed by addiction, unfit even to care for her child. But instead of denying it, she began to project an image that contradicted everything he said. The optics of a woman who was supposedly broken, buying a house which is said to be worth over $150 million and renting a $10,000 private jet? This is not coincidence. That is strategy. That is power play in its highest form. You see, Ned's accusations weren't random. They were calculated. A man in his political position, a sitting senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, cannot afford the stain of domestic violence scandal. To the public, it's not just about image. It's about power, influence, and reputation. So by framing her as a drug abuser, he was cleaning up his own narrative, turning himself from an alleged abuser into a concerned husband. And the toxicology report he reportedly held only strengthened that defense, a documented piece of evidence that could discredit her in any legal or social battle. But Regina's silence about the matter disrupted that strategy because she didn't fight his claims with words. She fought with transformation, a new city, a new house, a new life. She made sure the story shifted from a broken wife to a woman rising from the ruins. Still, beneath that surface of strength lies a brutal truth. This is not over. This is a war, but one fought without guns or lawyers yet. It's been fought with silence, perception, power, and strategy. And at the center of that battlefield are the children. If Ned truly holds a toxicology report showing evidence of substance use, the battle for custody will be a steep one. The system often sides with the parent who can prove stability. And right now, Ned has the upper hand. The unspoken reality is chilling. He could easily withhold visitation rights, framing it as protection for the kids. And unless Regina challenges that narrative heads-on, she risks losing not just her marriage, but her motherhood. Still, she doesn't appear to be backing down. This is not the same woman who once knelt to beg in a viral video, pleading for peace. That woman seems to be far gone. What we see now is evolution. The emergence of someone who has learned that silence can be powerful. And then comes the financial mystery, the one thing that everyone has been talking about. Where did the money come from? How did she go from being perceived as dependent on her husband's wealth to independently funding a lifestyle most can only dream of? Because remember, every property she has once lived in were all bought in Ned's name. Even the supposed gifts, the cars, the house in Abuja were all legally his. Many assumed that once she walked out, she would have nothing. But she's now moving with the confidence and financial power of someone who has been planning this escape all along. That raises a psychological question. Had Regina been preparing for this fallout for months, maybe even years? Was she playing the long game, quietly building her independence while the world thought she was trapped in this luxury? Perhaps this isn't just rebellion. Perhaps this is strategy. A woman's calculated, slow-burning response to years of control. So while the world watches for her next move, one thing is certain: the line has been drawn. This is not a reconciliation story by any shot. This is not a scandal anymore. This is war, silent, psychological, and deeply personal. But the truth is, no one knows how this silent war will end. The battle line has obviously been drawn, yes, but the direction it takes from here remains a mystery. From Regina's current stance, one thing is clear: she's ready for whatever storm comes next, ready to face whatever consequences her defiance may bring. This is not a woman running from the fight. This is a woman standing tall, no matter how powerful her opponent is. And unlike the FFK and Precious Chikwendo story, where Precious was silenced, stripped of her children, and forced to crawl her way back for visitation, this war feels different. Regina is not the helpless ex-wife crying out for help. She's not begging to be seen or heard. She has the voice, the influence, and the resources to fight back on her own terms. Ned may hold the political power, the money and the system's advantage, but Regina holds the people. She has the sympathy, the support and the attention of millions who are watching closely, ready to rally behind her if need be. In a country where power often silences truth, Regina Daniels is showing us something new, a kind of resistance that isn't loud but firm, a defiance that doesn't scream but stands. The war might not be equal like a 50-50, but is close enough to be dangerous, maybe a 60-40. And from the look of things, this time it's not going to be like the others. This time, she's ready to fight.